Welcome back to the Hoops Temple podcast. We are here to finish up the top 300. Aaron Schroeder, Sacramento. How you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I know you're excited to get to the top 408. I can see it in your eyes.
I honestly never believed that we would get to the top 300, so
Really? I
yeah.
always thought we would. I don't know. I think I never doubted that we'd finish this.
Oh God, I had so many doubts. I'm like, I,
No doubts of me. I've been consistent.
you are the champion of this. Your persistence, your diligence to do the research has made this all possible. I wish I was a younger man and I had that sort of stamina and like go-getter attitude on this. Um, if you'd met me in
Damn.
my younger years, we'd be at top 1,000 by
Oh, sure. I should put this energy towards like a job or something. I gotta figure this out.
now. True. All right. Well, so the way we've been doing it, if you've listened this far, you probably already know, but we rank the guys by position first. Then we take the top player at each of those positions, and those are our candidates list, and we select them as we go. So, Aaron, I'm not going to ask you to read the top 275. We'll save that
I
for
will
another
not.
pod. But could you read us our five nominations that we have
Of
on the
course.
board?
So from the point guard spot, we have Jason Terry. From the shooting guard spot, we have Jeff Hornacek. Small forward brings us Luol Deng. Power forward, Anton Jameson. And from the center spot, Tyson Chandler.
And now I've been meaning to do this, but if you took these guys on their like high end average, like whatever their 5 to 7 year peak span is, how many wins would this 5 man unit win as like an
Man,
NBA team?
it's a good team. It's a very good team.
It's
You
solid,
have,
right? Like you
yeah, you have you have the scoring options in Terry, Hornacek, and Jameson, and Deng and Chandler are very good defenders. This is a 50-plus win team, like
really
55.
you're still saying that this team wins 55.
I guess depends what era. Like I'm thinking of close to the era that they played in,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
around like
sure.
let's say this is a 2007 team or something. Um, yeah, that's a 55 win team. I don't think with this much depth, I don't think you would need the superstar talent to get to 50 plus wins.
That is fair. A lot of these guys would be like the third or fourth best player on their
Mhm,
teams, but if you've got five of them,
mhm.
it's solid. I'm going to start asking you this at the start of each of these episodes, just so we can like kind of see like, hey, we went from having the starting five of like Magic, Jordan, Jabbar, you
Mhm.
know, that's an 82-0 team, and now
Yeah,
we've whittled our way down to like, all right,
it's a good question. You know, it
you
kind of
know,
reminds me of the '97 Hawks, where it's like Steve Smith and Mutombo,
mm,
and it's like very talented, but they play Jordan and they lose. Like that's kind of the same vibe too.
yeah, yeah. All right. Well, who's your nomination for uh 276? I guess.
I have Jeff Hornacek. We talked about him last episode. Got close to putting him in the top 275. Makes just one All Star team, but 14 and a half points throughout his career. But he's just a consistent like 15 to 20 points on good teams. Great third option. Um, Makes the conference finals with the Suns in 89 and 90. Makes the finals with the Jazz in 97 and 98. Has that contribution to winning. Has the longevity. What do you think?
He was my guy. I had him at 274. You actually talked me out of having him in the top 275, so I'm glad we can get him in there. One of the knocks on him is that he does have some real just playoff collapses. The 97 finals, game three, 1 for 4 shooting, game five, 2 for 11 shooting. In 98, he's got 4 games, 37.5% from the field or worse. So like kind of collapses there at the end, but he does drive a lot of really good offenses for the Jazz throughout the regular season and in Phoenix beforehand. So, hey, at 276, I will take a couple of final stinkers at the end of the
Hmm.
man's career.
For sure. Lock him in. Our next shooting guard nomination is Doug Collins, the four-time All-Star Sixers player.
Hurt before he could hit his apex, I guess, or what we were
For
hoping
sure.
for.
Foot injuries, but the first overall pick, I think the 73 draft, 73. 73 is right.
Yes,
He
sir.
was the Sixers' reward for going 9-73 the year prior.
You say that, and, like, I keep thinking of what is, like, the bottom limit for the Pistons this year. Like, how bad can it possibly be? And, like, we were discussing the '03 Denver Nuggets
We
before
were.
we started recording, and I'm like, 17 wins, that
No
sounds completely
fucking way.
implausible.
No way Detroit gets to that.
And
I
now
was talking to Jack in the last time I saw him, and I'm like, "Do you think this team could win 9 games?" Like, "No, I don't. I really don't." Like, this is an 8-win team. Like, I mean, they have to win 5 more times.
I believe
5
in
more
them.
times? 5 Cade's hurt. Like, every game that Cade's not playing is a loss by 20. No way they win one of those.
Whoa,
And then
whoa,
it's like,
whoa. Kevin Knox, the
Kevin
man, the
Knox.
myth, the legend, finally
Even,
coming
like,
into his own.
they played the Spurs, they lost by 30. They played the Wizards, they lost by 20. They can't even beat the other bad teams.
Oh my
The only way
god.
they get a win is, like, Toronto, who traded away their 3rd best player or their 2nd best player, and they didn't have, like, the guys they got in return hadn't showed up yet. Like, had they made that trade a day earlier, the Pistons are on a 40-game losing streak.
Alright. I I'm just thinking about when this will drop. There's not a chance that this we're recording this January 13th. There's a
Maybe by
chance that this
June.
will not drop, until, like, mid-February. Just
It's a
knowing my
summer
report, like
project.
well, it's yeah, it's when we have spare time. I've got a 3-day weekend, we got some extra time now.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, so I guess when you're listening to this, hopefully the Pistons have 8 wins. Um,
Not gonna happen. Come back and then and message us and say, "Aaron, you were right. Pistons have 7 wins. They're 7-75."
good
That sounds like a preposterous record when I say it out loud. 7-75. But
it sounds
that's
terrible.
reality. That's reality. This is the worst team ever. It's the worst team of all time.
Yeah. And you know how you can let us know that this is the worst team of all time? Email us,
That's
hoopstemple@gmail.com.
true.
Got that plug in early.
Let's go.
Finally
Figured it out.
remembered.
All right. Who's your nomination for the next
For
spot?
277, I want to go with Antoine Jameson.
Okay. You know we have disagreements about Jameson.
I know we have disagreements it's about Jameson, but at some point, the fact that this man plays, what is it, like 1,000 games? Yeah,
Yeah.
1,800 or 1,083 games, and is a 20 points per game scorer for basically a decade in there. And I know it's high volume bad teams. You have to someone has to do that. And I really do cling to his Dallas year, or in kind of the middle of his career, that '04 year where he comes off the bench, wins six man of the year. But you see all of his stuff become immediately more efficient. And I just think like if he wasn't playing with Gilbert for his prime, if he was playing with insert other star player here, if he had ended up in San Antonio, um,
Mhm.
like we've seen that he can be an efficient player on a good team. That just wasn't his destiny. Um, do you want to know the wins of his Warriors from '99 to '03?
Oh, it's really bad. I remember going through this. I think they win less than 20 games like 4 times.
It's 21 wins in the lockout year, which is solid. It's a 50-game season. 21 is solid. Then 19, 17, 21, and then 38 the last year he's there. And it's like, all right, maybe the fact that you're getting 20s doesn't matter that much, but it's just
Yeah,
the consistency.
that is kind of my issue with it. I didn't have Jameson here because the teams are so terrible. I think he wins less than 20 games 4 or 5 times over his career. Um, I had Tyson Chandler. He plays in more games. You have like rim protection. You have great rebounding. I feel like that kind of seamlessly fits into winning, and you see that happen in his championship run, like in the impact he had for the Knicks. And he goes back to Dallas, it, like helps him figure it out again. Um, I kind of value that over like the Jamesons. Like he could have been 15 points off the bench. Like I think that's what you saw from him, and maybe the high volume on bad teams was the best thing for him that we're having this conversation because the numbers look good. But if
They
he's
do.
in Chandler's spot, is he just 15 points a game and no one cares?
See, I struggle with the Tyson Chandler. Um, because this man, while he provides good defense, he does not provide much else. The rebounding numbers lower than what you'd expect throughout his career. He is not like a demonstratively great rebounder. Um, the defenses are always good. He gets to good positions, so I don't care that the block numbers are a little bit weaker than expected. Offensively, he is a rim rolling lob threat big man, so he's completely reliant on those good guards. And he plays with Chris Paul well for a couple of really important seasons there, or with so hard to remember if they were New Orleans or the Pelicans or the
New
Hornets, but
Orleans. New
know
Orleans,
that
yeah.
that team.
It was
Because they're also
he's there for, like, the
OKC
Oklahoma
Hornets
City,
in there.
yeah, the Oklahoma
Yeah.
City Hornets.
Um, I have
I'll tell you
Tyson
what,
a bit further down. Can we maybe find some common ground with the Dougie Collins?
maybe I'll tell you what, I'll take Jameson, and I'll go for this
Okay.
because in 2007 in the first round against LeBron, they do get swept, but he's averaging 32 points and 10 boards. That's a fucking crazy playoff series. Maybe it's a good it's bad it's man, good stats in a bad team, but the teams are okay enough and you see him play in the playoffs enough to understand that he can still drop 20 come playoff time. Give him 30 a night. Outscore LeBron James.
He's 54th in career regular season points all time NBA history.
That's true.
I mean that's
LeBron
got to count for something.
LeBron averages 28 points on 42% shooting. James and 32 points on 48% shooting. Do you want to tell me one other 2007 Wizard that plays in this series? One, just one. One of them.
Well, so this is the series without Karan and Gilbert. So what? You got Deshaun Stevenson there. Um, was
Yeah,
Etuan Moore the center?
I do not see him.
Just trying to think of other Wizards in this era. It's like I can kind of picture their faces, but it's a bleak team.
It's
You
a
want to read the
bleak team.
starters?
Sure, I can let's go for game 3. In game 3, Jameson has 38 points. They lose by 6. Um Antonio Daniels has a pretty good series.
Okay.
Jarvis Hayes, Deshaun Stevenson,
Uh,
and Eaton Thomas. The bench is
Ethan.
Darius Sangalia, Brendan Haywood, Roger Mason, and Michael Ruffin. Deshaun Stevenson shoots 19% from the field in this series.
I was thinking.
He's
I said Etuan Moore and Eton Thomas. That
uh
just kind of crossing. They're not that similar players, are they? Yeah, yeah, they're pretty similar. All right.
you were close. All right, we'll go
Um,
Jameson. I'll take Jameson.
okay. I have actually quite a few guys before Tyson Chandler are in here. How many more guys can I functionally get over him? Where's your kind of levels at?
I could be convinced. I could be
All
convinced.
right,
I'm not locked in.
all right.
What are the names, and we'll go from there.
I mean, I got names from Paul Millsap all the way down to Dan Marley. Love me
Okay.
some good Thunder, Dan.
Yeah.
Um, so
Millsap is
basically
our
every
next
other
power
position.
forward after we put in Jameson. Millsap's the next one up. I do like some Paul Millsap. Um,
I feel like with Millsap, you just have a guy who contributes so much to winning teams over the years.
mhm.
Like he is a cornerstone for those Utah teams. The Hawks 60 win, 4 or 5 all-star teams. He's there. And then yeah, he's not as important in Denver, 20 turning into the 20s, but like you got like 9, 10 years of him really contributing into these other franchises.
You know what's interesting is he really could have been more for those Denver teams. Because
Hmm.
when he leaves, he still is an all-star. Like he's an all-star in 2017, joins him in 2018. He just gets hurt. His like, injuries start to pile up, and by the time he's like kind of healthy again, which basically never happens, he's in his mid instead of his early 30s, it's mid 30s, which is a whole different conversation. I do like Paul Millsap. Leads the league
Let
in
me just
defensive win shares in 2016, which is
let
a
me get
hell
you
of a
some
year.
playoff numbers. There's
Okay.
2014 in the playoffs. They go 7 against Indiana in game 6 and 7. He gets it's That was going to be much more impressive. I combined the stats for the two games in my notes. So I was
Uh,
like, man, he got 31 points, 35 boards. And I was like, oh, all right.
hey, that's a good. You could split those up. That's the good rebounding numbers, right?
Yeah, solid rebounding numbers. In 2016, though, he delivers a 45-point game against Boston.
Hmm.
They do win his minutes by 2, but they lose by 9, and he's held scoreless in OT. So it's kind of a mixed playoff bag. But
I'd say
um,
overall, from like a player of this quality, 24 playoff series played in, 11 playoff series won, played from '07 to 2023, basically. No, 2022. That's a lot of longevity. Over 1,000 games played. Who is your other guy?
so I mean, I've got a lot of other guy this year. We're basically going to hit every other position before we get to Tyson Chandler.
Man, this is
Um,
bullshit. this is
You're
this is
right.
ridiculous.
You're right. Tyson
Um,
Chandler should be over the wall dang. So I'm not hard sold on these guys. But what do you think about Doug Collins? Collins, it's a much shorter. Like the other guys, we're talking 1,000 games. Collins, we're talking 400. But we're also talking a
mhm.
much higher peak of Collins being that 4-time in a row All Star, one of the best shooting guards of the era, and a key contributor on. They don't win with him, but do they make the finals
He's yeah,
twice?
they make the
Once?
finals, and he's playing 40 minutes a night. Him, like, he kinda takes a big step forward from the regular season to the playoffs in '77. Him and Dr. J really step up in that playoff run. It's why a team that kinda bumbled their way into the playoffs made the finals because they just like, "Alright, McGinnis isn't shooting anymore. It's Collins and Dr. J," and that was a good system. I honestly think I might be too high on Chandler just looking at his stuff. I think of, like, ultimate winner, tons of games, like, good rim protection
Mhm.
everywhere, but he's like he plays so much time in fucking Phoenix and, like, shitty Bulls teams. Um, he plays in
Well,
just
and
15 playoff series and wins 7 of them, and even in the like, he's playing big minutes in the finals against Miami, but not really, like, kinda 31-ish minutes, 30 minutes a game in the playoff series before that, so I think I wanna do Collins and then Millsap, just because Collins has this great 77 run, um, when the leagues merge.
I will take it. Yeah, I
Alright.
I was with you there with kind of being a little bit disappointed looking back on Tyson Chandler's his career because the memory is he is just an absolute dominant defensive force, and it's kind of more he's a good roller and a good defender, who peaks out with that Dallas team as like an elite defensive force. But that Dallas team also had really good defensive wings. Sean Marion is there, or Mike Finley is Finley on that team that wins the title? I want to say
2011? No,
no.
long gone, long gone.
He'd
I
gone to the
it's
Spurs.
it's like Marion
Jason
and
Kidd,
Kidd,
yeah.
Stevenson.
And like they absolutely had the Lakers numbers coming off back to back their titles, and you look at it, and Kobe couldn't score against the wing depth. And like Tyson Chandler, yeah, he's providing that backline protection, but we we underrate how good the rest of the defenders were on that team and how many stoppers they had.
That's how they won the title. They surrounded Dirk, who was just this awesome go-to scorer, with a variety of not just offensive creation, most importantly, defensive creation, defensive variety. You had Kidd was still like the best defensive point guard in the league, or one of them, even at the age of 46. Um, and Marion is one of the best wing defenders in the league. Like they had the ability to stop guys at all levels, and that's why they have such an incredible playoff run.
And for the 1,000 plus games played, he only played 76 in the playoffs, and he's only getting 35 minutes a night in 2 playoff series.
Yeah,
Like that's
yeah. Sorry, Tyson. No, I think you're right. I just got caught up in the 2011 one. I did. I'll be honest.
I
I'll be honest.
understand.
Okay, so our next with Collins and Millsap out of the way, our shooting guard is Victor Oladipo, and our power forward is Otis Thorpe.
I do not
My
plan to
next
talk about
guy,
Otis Thorpe before we get Tyson Chandler on the board. So at
yeah.
least you got that one.
My next player was Jason Terry.
I like
He's on
it.
the 2011 Mavs, and I think he's better than Chandler. You have 1,400 games played for Terry, 13 and a half points. He plays in 23 playoff series and wins 11 of them. In the 2011 run, he's playing about the same minutes as Chandler. You could say Chandler's more important to that 2011 run, but Terry's also the starting shooting guard for the '06 run, playing 40 minutes a night, averaging 22 points a game in the '06 final. So yeah, he has that going for him. Um, where is he in three pointers made? I will tell you that.
He's pretty high,
He's
I want to
10th.
say.
He's 10th all time in three pointers made. You get just a great sixth man. 2009 sixth man of the year. Starts about half his games and good score, long time. What do you think?
I want to pull up a stat right now. What is what do you think Terry's max 3-point attempts are per game?
In a season?
Yep, in a season.
Man, at the time, in like the 2000s, it's probably like 6 or 7. I'll say 6.5.
It's 6.2. Do you want to
Check me out.
how many players are averaging more than 6.2 3-point attempts right now?
Oh man. Um 25.
32.
Ah, I was close. That's pretty good.
Like to be 10th all time in three-pointers made, like it's he's going to tumble down the list just with the volume of how many guys are shooting. But it's really a tribute to his longevity that he's still this high, given um, just given and how many more guys are shooting that high of volume right now. Like when he shot the 6.2, trying to find out how where he was at in field goal attempts that year, 3-point field goal per game attempts. Uh, Basketball Reference, why are you fighting me? It just, yeah, I can't find it, but it just is kind of crazy in my mind that he's that high, and it's a sheer longevity play for him.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
He
Let's see
comes
here.
through in big moments in the playoffs. For someone that that never cracks 20 points per game for a season. Like he has playoff series like the '06 finals, get 22 points a night. In the 2011 conference semis against the Lakers, he's almost 20 points a night. So he's stepping up in these big stages. So let's go Terry
Yeah,
at two. Where are we at?
280.
280.
A couple more just stats that I had on Terry. 14th in career games, regular season plus playoffs, in combined NBA, ABA history. 35th most minutes in combined NBA, ABA history, regular season and playoffs. And then to close out Miami in 2011, that's a 27-point night. That's that's how you close out LeBron James with Jason Terry hitting the
He
shots.
locks up LeBron. That's JJ Barea. But Terry outplays LeBron down the stretch.
So
Undeniably.
with Terry off the board, that brings on Stephon Marbury. How are we
Starbury.
feeling? How are we feeling about the Starbury?
I feel good. I like Stephon Marbury. I've learned to like him more, but I think in terms of impacts on winning, Dang and Chandler have to go first.
Okay, okay. I can certainly get Luol Deng there. I'm ready for Deng. He is the highest guy on my board, and I wouldn't hate Tyson Chandler above him. Do you have a strong leaning?
I think we should go Dang ahead of Chandler. I think I was wrong about that. I think 281 should be Dang, and then 282
Okay.
should be Chandler. Like, I mean, just Dang is for Chandler. I just don't see the minutes per game, and I don't want to get caught up in minutes per game, but 27 minutes a game for his career peaks out at about 35 for a good Hornets team. But for Dang, I mean, maybe it's the Tom Thibodeau effect, but God, you couldn't peel
Hmm.
him off the floor. And I feel like maybe Chandler would have played more for a Tom Thibodeau team or something, but I do think it speaks volumes that Chandler, like, despite being really good, is kind of a situational big. Like, is kind of
Hmm.
a at times like he's not playing the entire game. Where Dang like 39 minutes in 2012 and 2013 leads the league in that stat both times. And plus, like, I mean, you think of like the Rose days, but also like the '07 Bulls are really good. 49 wins, like what, like Ben Gordon and stuff like that. And he's playing all 82, 37 minutes a night there. I think things right
Yeah,
going.
I was thinking about Jalen Williams today because I was trying to rank out the top players under 24, just kind of who are the young guys. And with Jalen Williams, I couldn't quite put my finger on like the thing that he does amazing, but he does everything like above average. I kind of feel like Luol Deng is a similar player. Like we chalk it up to defense, but he could also score. He wasn't ever going to get you a ton of assists, but he could pass. And there was just like he did a little bit of everything really well. And so if we talk about like situational fits where Chandler may fit better in certain situations and worse in others, and like he gets to the Bobcats and it's just not good there. He's also dealing with some injuries, but like they decide not to start him for a time. Dang, you would never make that call. Dang, when he is good, he is starting everywhere. And while his Lakers contract was a absolute albatross that we ended up having to stretch and pay for a good number of years afterwards, like it made sense. I mean, it never made sense. It was always way too much money, but the player he was made
How
sense
much
and would
money did
make
you
sense
guys get?
anywhere. Oh, how
I
much
thought
money?
his
It was
contract with Phoenix was huge. He has like the 5 is like 4 for 53 on Phoenix or something. I thought he was just like a buyout guy for you guys.
Basketball Reference says it. Oh, there it was. 18 million
You paid him 18 million bucks
a year.
for how long?
I believe it was like a 4 or 5 year deal.
There's no way the Lakers signed Tyson Chandler to that money.
Oh no, sorry, Luol Deng.
Oh dang! That's sorry. I'm so
Yeah,
that no. That's
yeah,
right. That's right.
yeah.
I was like, because Chandler plays. He has the big contract with the Suns, then plays for the Lakers. I was like, did they
Yes.
give him that much money? Like, no,
No,
you're
no,
right.
no.
That was ridiculous.
And you know what? Tyson Chandler, a better Laker than Luol Deng. But
Kind of crazy how Dang falls apart. I do remember like when that signing happened, like what the Reddit comments were like. Because at the time, people were like, he's veteran leadership going to turn this young team around. In like a month, they're like, "What the fuck was that? That was a terrible contract. We made a huge mistake."
it was also
I
the
think we're
spike
done
year where
talking
it was
about yeah,
like what are we gonna do?
how much it's so much money, but I think we're done talking about small forwards.
Oh, I
Our
actually
next one
have
is
quite.
Richard Jefferson.
I have three more small forwards on the list.
That's not true. That's not true because it's Richard Jefferson and it's Andrew Wiggins. So I don't know who you're putting Wiggins above, but we're gonna have some serious talks.
I mean, are you gonna take DeAndre Jordan above Andrew Wiggins?
Yes, yeah, I am. Yes, I
Okay,
hell
okay.
yeah, I am. Andrew Wiggins is the worst player in the league right now. He's been good for
Right
one season.
now,
He's been good
there.
for he was good for one season.
Okay, okay. Uh, all right. My highest guy is Stephon Marbury, followed by Victor Oladipo. I'm on
Okay.
the board right now.
Who did I have? I did have Marbury. Yeah, let's do it.
It's a similar case to Antoine Jameson, and I think we may, when we kind of get out of this positional gridlock when we're reviewing things over the summer, I think there's a case that Marbury did more, or at least had a higher peak than Jameson, but he doesn't have nearly the longevity. He's capping out, but after like 840 games, but some of those games at the end aren't great. Um,
Well, the thing with Marbury is his teams are awful. But he was always like for around top 10 in points per game. He's in top 10 for assists per game. He's gonna get 22 points and 8 assists. The team will be bad. Maybe
mhm.
that's his fault. Maybe that's on his part. I think it looks worse because they always like they get Sam Cassell instead, who's much better. They get
Well,
Jason
no,
Kidd, the Nets get Kidd, and it's way better. And so it's like, okay, like the swing is much different, but I think Marbury did kind of limit your ceiling.
him leaving Minnesota really hurt them. Because
Yeah.
they go from 45 wins down to, well, it's a lockout year, but they go from 45 down to being 500.
Mm.
And like it it was supposed to be him and Garnett, and he leaves, so they don't quite bounce back as well. When he leaves New Jersey, they get Jason Kidd. They also draft Richard Jefferson and Kerry Kittles, who had been out the previous year, returns. So you see this like huge spike. Um,
Mm.
And then kind of the same thing happens when he moves on from Phoenix is they get Nash and I forget if Amari was hurt the previous year or if he just takes a giant leap, but like
I don't know if Amari's there quite yet. Oh,
he is there.
year
He gets
2,
there
yeah, no,
in
he is there.
'03.
It's like
Um
him and Hardaway are both hurt or something, or they trade Penny. It's a disaster of a Phoenix season.
yeah. So when he's with Phoenix, they're 18 and 42 with in the games he plays in 2006. But Amari is also hurt. Amari plays just 3 games that season. So it's like,
Is that
yeah,
true?
they're
Is that lining up?
'05, '06. Oh
Yeah,
no,
but
no,
that's
sorry. I'm looking at the wrong time period. It,
yeah. I think you're a little too early. Yeah, because yeah,
yeah,
Stoudemire gets there in '03.
he gets there in '03.
Um,
But all right, so it's the Stoudemire leap between '03 and '04,
yeah,
or which is in part attributed to Nash, but also like it's not just Stephon leaves and these teams get really
yeah.
good. It's
They
he
they
leaves,
figure it out.
they figure it out. They bring in a better replacement for him. But also then they have other adjacent moves that really help bolster the roster.
Yeah, looking at like the '03 Suns, like rookie of March, 44 wins. Yeah, it's like him and Starbury and Hardaway and Sean Marion's there. It's like a good team, right? And
Yeah.
29 wins, and then it's like way up to 62. They get Nash, but Stoudemire is I mean, the thing is like guys like I mean Joe Johnson's there in that '05 leap as well. That's part of it too. Um, you get Joe Johnson coming on, but Nash just worked better with Stoudemire, with Marion, stuff like that. But okay, where
Mhm.
are we at? Um,
We now have Calvin Murphy on the board, the pocket rocket. Yeah, 20
hmm,
points per game scorer, a
I
boxer.
think you're skipping Bibby. I have Bibby.
I did skip Bibby. I was very excited. All right, we got Mike Bibby.
Yeah, I'm glad you're excited about the next guy because it means you all swallow your fucking pride and put Bibby in. So we have Bibby, Victor Oladipo, Richard Jefferson, Otis Thorpe, and Wayne Embry replaced Chandler, the five-time All-Star from the '60s and the Royals. Who's your next guy?
My next guy is Victor Oladipo. I think it's
Yeah,
so brief. It's a season and a half. Um, but it's hard to make the claim that any of the rest of these guys this year could lead a team or could be a top 15 player in the NBA, which I think that I mean that is what Victor Oladipo was that 2017, 2018 in year. It's 2 All-Star appearances, but one All-Star or 1 year that he's an All-Star is all defense and all NBA. Was it first team or
hmm
no, it's not first team.
I think 13, but he's first in
13.
steals, and he's just this crazy two-way guy. I mean, it's so interesting because Oladipo is such a disappointment in the Magic. Excuse me.
Hmm.
Um, It's such a disappointment in Orlando, and, like, that's what he was supposed to be. We didn't even realize that he was that's what he was supposed to be until it was happening in front of us, but he takes LeBron in the 2018 Cavs to 7. In Game 6, he has 28 points, 13 boards, 10 assists, 4 steals on 11 of 19 shooting, and if they I know, like, LeBron James has plot armor, and the league would have never allowed him
Hmm.
to lose to the Pacers, but I think, it's just an incredible season, and while I really I like Bibby, Bibby has great playoff moments, I thought about having him over, that's just a really, really great year from Oladipo, just something that's really special.
Do you know what the Game 7 stats were for Oladipo?
Awful. Really bad, I don't wanna talk about it.
Do I have to run
Are
Game
they
7?
bad? Are they
No.
bad? I could have sworn they were bad.
If they're bad, then I've got the wrong numbers here, which does happen. We do a lot of
No,
this.
they're good. No, I'm totally wrong.
30
You're good.
points, 12 boards,
Yeah,
6 assists, 3 steals,
that's on me.
10 for 21 from the floor,
Maybe I was
or
thinking about Sabonis.
4 from 9 from 3. Like he did really well. You
Sabonis
push
plays pretty
LeBron as
bad.
much as you can.
I apologize to Oladipo for thinking his stats were in that game 7. I don't know. You know what happens when other stars try to beat LeBron from like 2011 to 20 or 2012 to 2018?
Yeah.
The league puts a little something in their drink the night before. They're a little hungover. It's the plot armor that keeps LeBron going.
Well, and Darko. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Rakotovic? No,
Sure.
can't be that.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Raptors coach?
yeah, he might have
LeBron
something to
has
say about.
I've been saying LeBron has plot armor since like 2016. I'm like, this dude, like, maybe obviously that speaks how good he is. It's like he cannot lose in big games. Like he's gonna win somehow.
Well, LeBron gets 15 free throws that game, but George Hill somehow ends up with 9 fourth quarter free throws. I don't ever remember George Hill shooting double-digit free throws in a game. So, like, getting 9 in the fourth of a game 7 smells a little fishy. Smells a little fishy. All right. Well, with Victor coming off the board, that brings up our next shooting guard as Reggie Lewis. Our shooting guards, we've got this just like run of guys who were really good for really small amounts of time. Like our power forward and centers, we're talking 1,000 games. We got Otis Thorpe sitting on deck with 1,200 games. We're like, yeah,
Mhm.
but Reggie Lewis
I
had the
like
peak.
Lewis. He has the peak.
It,
With Lewis, I mean, he passes away in a game in '93, but prior to that, like '90 to the second round against the Cavs in '92, he's averaging 28 points a night, 4 boards, 4 assists. The first round in '92, a sweep of Reggie Miller's Pacers, 28 points again. Like he puts together a 20-point per game playoff series in 6 straight playoff series during the early '90s. I mean, it's so crazy because the Celtics. I know. It would have crushed you as a Lakers fan, but the Celtics could have extended their dynasty. They're winning from the '80s into the '90s, but both Len Bias and Reggie Lewis pass away. It's just insane circumstances that caused that group to crumble uglier than it should have.
oh yeah, and I mean that end that team burned itself on both ends. With McHale playing through injuries, his career breaks down a lot faster than it probably should have. Larry Bird deciding to shovel his own gravel on his driveway, throwing out his back, doing that. Like, just why is that what kills Larry Bird's career? And then Magic getting HIV, kind of killing some of Bird's will to play and compete. Like, it was a cursed time period. None quite as bad as Reggie and Len Bias dying. Like, don't mean to put injuries
Sure.
on that level, um, but it really does destroy the Celtics. And Reggie Lewis had arms for days and was one of the guys who really bothered Michael Jordan. And just from like a defensive capacity standpoint, he had the length to trouble what Michael wanted to do. And in his last year of playoffs, not 93, but 92, they take Cleveland to 7 games, and he is averaging 28 points per game, as like kind of the best Celtic out there.
What do you think? Have you talked yourself into Reggie Lewis? Are you ready yet?
I mean,
Is it a little early?
I was gonna give the nod to Richard Jefferson on longevity, but we can dance around it. Are you trying to go with the point guard option here?
A little bit. Part of me feels like having Wayne Embry, Hall of Famer, 5-time All-Star, just kind of hanging over our heads, not really sure what to do with the seventh best center from the '60s or something. Um,
Hmm.
he still has the 5-year stretch of 16 points and 11 boards, top 10 in rebounds per game a couple times. Like there's that. I know we don't really know how to comprehend what's going on, but he has a 20.13 rebound a game season where the Royals start to turn it around, win 43 games. 42 games the next year. It's like kind of him and Oscar. And for a Royals team that had really struggled since their championship over Mikan or over the Knicks and beating Mikan along the way, him and Oscar are kind of like the two bright spots. Him, Oscar, and Jerry Lucas, basically.
I forget when they jump from 10-man rosters to 12-man rosters. There's in this point, but you're
Mhm.
looking at a 9-team league and roughly 100 players in the league at this point. And I guess where I struggle at is at that time you've got either 20 or 24 all-stars.
Mm.
Um, they whenever they move the roster, they move the all-star spots up, which I think is actually a good move. I think
Smart.
all-star spots should be tied to either how many players are on teams or how many teams are in the league. Um,
Mhm.
but basically, a quarter of the players are all-stars, and so when I see that he has 5 all-star appearances, I
It's
struggle
not
with
as
wanting
exciting.
to. Yeah, and then you look at his, like, hey, he was a good scorer. Well, he's 14th to 18th at his peak.
Mm.
And in a 100-person league, that's like it's not as high as what I'd want.
Can I give you what my scale says
Yeah, what's
for
your
some
scale say?
context? The scale says he has a 3-year stretch. He's top 20 3 times.
Where in
62,
the
he's
20
4.
though?
I'm gonna tell
Sorry.
you.
Sorry.
Six in 1962, he was 14th. In 63, he was 12th. In 64, he was 15th. So you have right on the edge there.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. That's a good run. It's a good run of being
It,
like a
it's
fringe kind of top 15 guy.
it's a good
I
run of being a fringe top 15 guy. I'll take it.
okay. I
Ranking
think that's the smart move.
ranking these older stars it gets harder and harder as we kind of go down. I mean, it's been a while since we've talked about a 50s or a 60s player.
Mhm.
We haven't talked about one of them today, have we?
Not yet. Our next center, though, very exciting. DeAndre Jordan himself. Someone I've kind of come
DJ,
around on.
DJ.
I think you sold him really well, and it made me kind of rethink. Because for a long time, I mean, what I believe still kind of holds true, where Jordan's shortcomings and massive flaws in free throw shooting hurt the Clippers in their chances of real contention. But in terms of rebounding, in terms of rim protection, at least during the regular season, to get to 50 plus wins, God, he was really good. Man, he was really, really good.
Yeah. And I'm trying to think I'm trying to pull it up. How many minutes was he getting those games? Because that is, even with the defense, even with the free throw shortcomings, you
It's
still
a
put
little,
him
yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
He still had to play a lot.
Let's see. If, by the time he takes over the starting gig, like his Clippers day is 2013 to 18, is 32 minutes a game, 11 points, 13 boards, 2 blocks, 45% from the line. But like we
Well,
saw Ben Wallace shoot fucking 20% from the line. God, the guy's an awful free throw shooter. Wilt is the same thing, different conversation with Wilt, but I mean, you like guys who miss their free throws, yeah, it hurts. But if they're a demolishing defensive like force like Jordan was, and it's still worth it in a way.
yeah. Are you interested in him then? Is that what you're trying to tell me? That you'd rather have
Are
DeAndre
you?
Jordan?
Are you?
Well, I had Wayne Embry quite a ways down, so this is
Yeah.
messing with my board. Like,
I'm really not yet. I'm not yet. I think what Reggie Lewis was doing was just, hey, 28 a night, 20 a night. Like just one of the best players with no issues, no weird flaws, no free throw stuff. Um I think Bibby should be above him, like just huge playoff games, great during a playoff run. Um could shoulder an offense, like be the lead guard on some of the best offenses in the league. Where Jordan just isn't that. I mean, and think about like Jordan wasn't finishing games. You couldn't have him out there, and you really could not because he wasn't
sadly,
good on
he
offense.
was finishing games. That's part of the problem.
You couldn't have
All
him
right.
out there, but they did anyways, and that was the problem.
All right. So if we lock in Reggie Lewis at 286, are we comfortable with that?
Okay, sure.
Um, I take it you're going to keep fighting me on Richard Jefferson. Um, so then I've got two, and they're back to back in my rankings. But it's Dan Marley and Mike Bibby. Are you
Okay,
ready to make your case for Mike Bibby, or do you want to where'd you have Marley?
let me type in. Let me get Marley pulled up. I had Marley pretty close, pretty close. I think like you have his All Star years where he's his all-around player, kind of similar to Luol Deng, like playing like tons of minutes, pretty good scorer, great defensive player, good everything else. Then you have his like true just role player days in Miami, but always finding a way to contribute to winning. Um, I don't feel like Marley has anything that's really anything like what Bibby does in '02. But he does play in more playoff series. Like there's more like vague winning and less like like one great series.
Hmm. He's got
You
the
had
whole
Marley first.
93 run. Yeah, he's got that whole 93 run where he is averaging 44 and a half minutes a night. Um, it's his career changes as he gets older and kind of has some injuries. The younger Dan Marley is like he's Thunder Dan. He's let me drive and let me dunk it
Mhm.
on you. And then as he gets older, they start laying back and he starts becoming more of a jump shooter. But he really does it all. And looking back on him and kind of reading what other people have to say about him, they are much more pro his defense than I think I would have uh, expected or kind of see. Like defense is always hard to see in the numbers, but they talk about him being just being a relentless defender and never backing down from anyone. And when you see the kind of limited scoring, like it makes sense that he's out there for defense more, or in some of these series than he is um, for his points production.
For sure. But he has value either way. I think I'm okay going with Marley first. Um, it is just I love Bibby. It reminds me of what Jokic and Murray did last year.
Hmm.
Like imagine if Chris Webber wasn't like shell shocked when the fourth quarter started and he was Jokic instead. It was very like just kind of Jokic was the everyday star. Murray took over fourth quarters in like crazy ways in the playoffs last year. Where Bibby is kind of similar. It's like the 2000s little discount version of that. Do you see the vision?
What did you text me earlier about Weber's points per game in the fourth quarter against the Lakers?
It was 5.7, I think. I
Yeah,
didn't go. I didn't go shooting splits, which I could have, but I was also on the toilet when I was fighting those numbers, so didn't exactly have the capacity of doing a deep dive.
hey, I was texting you back on the toilet too, so
There you go.
uh, but yeah, I like what Bibby brings to the table. I think at this point, um, it's not star quality. I think we're moving to the realm where a lot of these guys are not going to have all-star appearances. And I'm kind of okay with that. I think we're at that fringe of of guys contributing in other ways that aren't stars. Yeah, let's put Bibby here.
Are we doing Marley then, Bibby?
Yeah, Marley and then Bibby, 287 for Marley, 288 for Bibby, which brings onto the board Ron Harper Sr.
Harper.
Since there's
That's
now Ron
true.
Harper Jr. are in the league,
I
or
just
around
made
the
a
league, I
video on
should
Ron
say.
Harper. I said that he was a five-time
Junior?
All-Star because I just no, a senior. I did my player profile. Said he was a five-time All-Star. Right in big text. My brain is basketball mush sometimes. I don't know. I type just it's like the Mad Libs. I go five-time. Who fucking knows? Anything. You gotta be anything. Five-time Finals MVP. Ron Harper. I like Harper. Harper has a year where I'm just baffled he doesn't make a single All-Star team or a
It
stretch.
is
It's his. Go ahead.
it's wild. It's 87 to 94, 19.3 points per game, 4.9 assists, 5.2 boards. Like that is scoring, that is rebounding, that is um
Two
playmaking
steals
from
too.
the
Great
guards.
defender.
Yeah. It's and
I don't
like I
know
do
why.
think there's a couple of years in there where he does kind of get screwed over by injuries. 91
Yeah.
he plays just 39 games, 90 plays 35. Also, the Cleveland years, it's a really deep team. The LA years, no one cares about the Clippers.
Yeah.
I
I get that. He is the only rookie ever to average 20 plus in points per game and over 2.5 steals, which he does.
really,
Yeah.
hmm.
Unless my fact checkers are lying to me.
I mean, it wouldn't entirely shock me because like you
Two
have
and a
to
half
have,
steals is a big
yeah.
number. I mean 20 points per game happens all the time, right? But 2.5 steals, that's a different qualifier. That's hard to get to, period. That's hard for anybody.
I like that he can play two or a one. Like when he's with Mark Price, he's kind of um like he plays the point guard role, but then defends the two. When he plays with like Jordan and Kobe, he's the one. He's a five-time champion, and that just is just wild to go um, for five rings. Now he's got like one of the largest drop-offs, and it's purely by choice. The
Yeah.
94 to 95 years, he goes from averaging 20 points. 6 boards, 4.5 assists with the Clippers, and says, "You know what? I want to win. I'm going to play 19 minutes a night or 20 minutes a night in Chicago and average 7, 2, and 2." And it pays off.
It does pay off. I mean, they basically asked him like, "Hey, you do all this stuff really well. Do you want to just play defense? Like, just play defense, nothing else." And he's like,
Yeah.
"Yes, I would. I'd love to." I mean, the longevity is there too. From and even as late as the 2000 Lakers, he's starting every game for them. He's 36 years old, 28 minutes a night. Um, yeah, he wins not 5 rings in a row because the 99
Mhm.
team he's on that tough Bulls team, but finds a way to impact winning by joining the Lakers again.
With Harper, if we're comfortable locking him in off the board,
Mm.
that brings up Byron Scott, who I think is a interesting candidate. But I'm ready to push for Otis Thorpe. No reactions to Otis Thorpe?
I'm organizing my list. So Harper is 289.
Harper's 289.
Okay. Harper, so we put Bibby in, which then brings up Calvin Murphy. You're really excited for. You don't want to do Calvin
I
Murphy?
so it's it is kind of a battle of the Rockets for me because they're the next two ish on my board. Um, I think what Thorpe does is just so underrated that I really want to recognize it here. The longevity, really good, but it kind of shrouds the fact that he is getting you like 17 and 10 from 87 to 92, 18 points per game, 9.9 rebound runs out there, and he gets an all-star appearance where Hakeem is hurt with the Rockets in 92, and Thorpe just steps up, completely assumes the role, and the team is pretty good. And it's a revelation moment, and like a turning point moment in the Rockets franchise where like Hakeem has to kind of change, and it, I don't think they win the title if the team is not successful without him, because I think that success spurred Hakeem to change, and that success doesn't happen without Thorpe. And then when they win the title in '94, just 2 years after his All Star appearance, they're going through a lot of teams um, based on 3-point shooting, but also having more size and physicality. And a lot of it gets attributed to Hakeem, but Thorpe is right there, putting up big minutes and playing well in '94.
Yeah, absolutely. You see him get to 1,300 games played, and next to Hakeem, he was really effective. It was a pretty devastating 4-5 with Thorpe and
Hmm.
Hakeem. Um, I think I have Thorpe over Calvin Murphy. I like Calvin Murphy, but Thorpe was an
Yeah.
Iron Man, played 82 games pretty often. Got over 10 boards a game 5 times. You see him get as high as 17 points a night. I think it's the right call.
All right. With Thorpe off the board, that brings up Bill Bridges, the undersized, rebounding, dominant forward of the what time period? 60s and 70s.
Sexies, yeah. It's interesting. Well, I wasn't really sure what to do with Embry, but it feels like Bridges is a little more. The longevity's better. Embry, it's pretty brief with Embry, but there's like Bridges is putting together what 10 straight seasons, 9 straight seasons of 10 plus rebounds per game, from 65 to 73 is 13 points and 13 boards.
I think the problem with Embry is Embry has the like makings of a case to be like a quote unquote star. With Bridges, Bridges is never the star. Bridges is like, I'm third guy on this team and let me help you out in those other ways. And so it's like, how much do
Hmm.
we value low end star from a really bygone era versus like high end role player, key contributor that could probably play in any era because he's just a workhorse and a rebounder. And for me, I feel like I know what to do with Bill Bridges a lot more than I knew what to do with Wayne Embry.
I think you nailed it. It's like kind of disappointing stardom versus like surefire third option rebounding stuff. On my scale, he has 3 appearances in the top 20 as well. He is 11th in 1967. He's 19th in 68 and 18th in 70. So I think that lines up with what we're how we've ranked them.
Are we ready for Richard Jefferson? Can I get you with some J
No.
Rich love in here?
No. No. What? No. Come on.
Richard Jefferson, 5 years from '04 versus 2008. Actually, we'll expand into to 2009. 19 points per game, 19.7 points per game, 38 minutes a night. You like the guys that are always out there, that are playing lots of minutes, that are contributing. And I think that Richard Jefferson fits that bill. You've also got his appearances in 3 finals. Did he sneak a fourth one in there? He's on the 2017 Cavs. I don't know if he plays much in that finals, but high contributing in at least the '03 finals. He's not the scorer, but he is the defender. We talk about those Nets teams as being a top defensive team in the league. And then his presence in 2016 with the Cavaliers does really help them win in that championship. I know you look at the points and you don't see it, but his inserting himself into the finals changed the dynamics and gave them a defensive element that they just didn't have when they were too big when they went with Mozgov.
Yeah, I really would prefer Byron Scott. By kind of for the same reasons. You get 3 championships instead of the 1. You get 35 minutes a night in the playoffs from 85 to 92. You get 17 points a game. What do you think? I know you like it.
I don't know why, but I just don't like Byron Scott. Do you
That's
ever have?
ridiculous.
He should be a
I
guy that I
like your
love.
guy. He should be. He should
I
be like Byron Scott should have been an all-star. Why aren't you telling
I
me he played in 38 playoff series and won 29 of them?
I grew up on film of the Byron or of the Magic and Kareem era. That was like my childhood. Is once a week I'd go watch these games. Just I don't know why it never clicked with me. I never have liked Byron Scott.
Can you like Byron Scott now?
I'll take him.
Played in 5 finals. All right, let's go.
I'll take him. All right, so we got Scott in there at 291. And would you accept Jefferson at 292, or is there someone else that you really
Okay.
like? Are you gonna make the case for Fred Brown, our new shooting guard?
No. No, I don't think so.
All right. So if we take Richard Jefferson at 292, I just want to take a moment, reset who we have at what spot. We have Calvin Murphy as our point guard. We have downtown Freddie Brown as our shooting guard. We have Andrew Wiggins as our small forward. We have not Otis Thorpe. We have Bill Bridges as our power forward, and we have DeAndre Jordan as our center.
That sounds right.
Where do you
I
want to
think
go?
it's DeAndre Jordan time. I think so. Do you want Bridges or
I love it.
Jordan? I'll let you pick.
I want Jordan.
All right, let's do it.
I want Jordan. It's the same type of player in different eras. It's I'm out here for rebounding and hustling. I'm going to be the team's third option. And when I think we get down to that, if you are the same caliber and same type of player in your era, I'm going to lean towards the guy in the later era.
Can we do Bridges next?
Sure.
All right.
He's my next guy. Where do you go to college? Was it Kansas?
Bridges?
Bridges. Yes. Bridges went to
That's
Kansas.
true.
He
Yeah.
has the Bill Bridges Rebounding Award, or named after him
Damn.
at Kansas University.
Nice.
He describes rebounding as an art form.
That's very cool. So from the
Yeah.
power forward spot, we have Sidney Wicks, 4-time All-Star, the pioneer of early Blazers basketball, and then Red Robbins. Is Red Robbins the red that has this Nimeria to Ginger, or is that Red Kerr?
Oh, I don't know. I can't keep my red straight. Let's see. I did
One
not
of
have
them
him in my
does.
top 300, so
Uh,
he did not make my notes list on this
I
one.
feel like it was Kerr because Robbins is an ABA guy. I don't really remember that.
Yeah. Are you ready for the Wiggins case?
No, no. Andrew Wiggins was good for 6 months. Like I can't. I think we.
It was a
fucked up.
very
I think
important
we
six
made it.
months.
It was an important 6 months. I think we fucked
Okay.
up. I think he's terrible right now, and he was bad in Minnesota. There's just no other player on this list or close to this spot has nearly the amount of negative performances. Where if like I know it's not that I know it's not how we do things, but if each game was worth of value, Wiggins would be so far in debt. He would never be able to buy his way out with it. If even if he get to start again at age 19 and play his entire career, he would be even more dead. Like it's just the negative games add up so much. Minnesota was bad. It's bad right now. It was bad last season.
I think at some point though the we're gonna hit the point where it's the production, it's the value of being out there and being a guy versus being a team's like sixth, seventh man. And it's like, yeah, they played better. Yeah, I'm not gonna be as interested. If you're not interested in Wiggins, could I
Mhm.
suggest we move him down 2 spots in the small forward rankings, which would allow
Okay.
us to rank Jack Marin and Bobby Furyk.
Is that right? I have Mashburn ahead of Marin.
Oh, I do have Mashburn ahead of Furyk. Yeah, I guess Bobby's so brief.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, let's do that.
At least let me get Jack Marin in here.
I do like Jack Marin. All right. So are we doing Marin, Mashburn, then Wiggins, or
Um, we can discuss offline. Because I'm not gonna make a case for Mashburn to be top 300.
no? But just I'm just can I put him there?
Yeah, sure.
All right. I like Jack Marin.
You like him right here,
Do I like
or
him right here though? I think
or
like
do you?
it's tough because he fell on my own list because I hate Andrew Wiggins, and so I was like, I'm not doing that, not putting him in. But now that he's on his own, like you see his contributions to like the 71 finals run for the Bull. It's like you see him make all star teams. Like I kind of feel like Sidney Wicks was better. Like they played at the same time,
Sure.
and he was just better than him. Um, what are you thinking?
I actually have Wicks ahead of him on my board. Part of that was the Wiggins of it
But
all,
still,
but yeah, I mean Wicks ran the floor really well. He was a I, I've got a couple of posts about Wix from the waydowntown.com, which uh awesome blog site. Just talking about older players and their kind of contributions to the game. You might highly recommend them. But he's got his 5 seasons in Portland, and the team is pretty bad at the start of it. 18 wins, 21 wins, 27 wins, 38, 37. Um, and then the Blazers kind of win the chip the year after selling his rights. They don't even get a player back. They literally just give him up for cash.
it was the 70s. They like
It
you had to
was the
be able to
70s.
afford. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean
I
that's how
get
you
that.
stay afloat as a franchise.
Yeah, I think with Wicks, like someone's got to put up those numbers, and
Yeah,
I think he puts up better numbers than the average person. With 23 points, 10 boards, 4 assists, a steal, a block for bad Blazers teams, but they're expansion Blazers teams. Like we see other guys join expansion teams and have worse, make All Star teams that have worse numbers. Um, I think Wicks is
Bob
the right
Kaufman.
call. Something is yeah, Bob Coppin. What's interesting is in '75 they win. The Blazers win just 38 games, and Walden plays only 35 games. But they were 26 and 21 without him, without Walden. They play actually
Hmm.
much worse when he played. And so I think like you have like maybe they could have won 46 games that season, but they're trying to rehab Walton at the same time. Like we're trying to he's like kind of banged up, kind of hurt, and at this point kind of dragging the team down a little bit.
Yeah, but that's Wallen. This is Wix. Yeah, I like what Wix does here. Let's go ahead put him in at 295. Then Jack McMahon at 296. And then do we have room for the pocket rocket Calvin Murphy at 297?
Who was 296?
Jack Marin? Are you up for
Okay.
Jack Marin at 296?
Yeah, sure.
Do we need to talk more about Marin? And the Baltimore Bullet, a member of the 71 finals team who gets 41.7 minutes a night, and averages 20.6 in that run to the finals.
I think it's good. Like, I feel like it's a little high for Marin. I like Marin. The era is
Okay.
weak. He's not very good, and the era is weak. Like that
Yeah.
70s stuff. Like for like with with the talent that was going to the ABA, I kind of want to see him make more All-Star teams, have better numbers because the numbers like aren't crazy. I had Calvin Murphy ahead of him.
Yeah,
Can
that
we just
most of
start
it.
there?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can start there. Murphy does play in a similar era, but he does peak later in his career. So you're talking about 78 through 80, where he's really well, actually gets 74 through 80. So kind of as the merger is beginning to happen, they do steal a lot of the players in 76. That's kind of like the pre-merger year, where
Mhm.
franchises start to fold and players start to come early so that way they can kind of dictate their spots. He's averaging 20 points and 5 assists for those, was this 7 years? Only a one-time All-Star. Houston's not particularly good, but they're also not particularly bad. Like they're a middling franchise, and it's him and Rudy Tomjanovich out there. And uh
It's an interesting mix where he's
yeah,
good. He has good numbers. The team makes the finals in 81, but he's hurt during that. But has a really, I think, a really big playoff series to start that. Um, yeah, 25 a night against the Spurs in the second round, 20 a night in the Lakers in the first rounds. Like and then he gets injured, and maybe like there's a case had he stayed healthy, like they could have done more damage to the Celtics. But um, from 71 to 81, he's averaging 19 points and 5 assists. I think it's good. I think that's good for Murphy. So our
yeah.
next point guard is Rod Strickland, who I'm also interested in. I think he's kind of my next pick.
I like Rod Strickland. Um
We forgot to mention our next power forward after Wicks was David Lee.
I'm not interested in David Lee.
Not quite yet.
Are
Strickland
you
just has 1,000 games played. It's 13 points. It's 7 assists. It's really great longevity.
I wanted to I guess he didn't lead the league in steals, but I thought he did. No.
Leads the league in assists. He makes All NBA in 80 and 88. Sorry, 98,
98.
but does not make the All Star team. Where is like I want to see like the looks like
Yeah,
just gonna pick a random date. Looks like from like here to finish the season. The last 31 games, he's averaging 20 points and 10 assists. I think that's kind of why. Like it's a slower start, but just really great numbers in the second half. It's why he's all NBA, but not an all star.
one of my favorite things is the volatility of short playoff series and what they can kind of do for guys' numbers. Because like if you played just a top defensive team and you've got 3 games against a top defensive team, it's a small enough sample size that's not going to average out, and you're going to have like a pitiful looking playoffs. And if you play
Mm.
a run and gun team, it's going to inflate your numbers. He has some wild playoff numbers that I have not dug deep enough into to like talk to you that intelligently about. But in 95, he averages 23 points and 12 assists in the playoffs. The previous year, 94, it's 23.5 points, 9.8 assists in the playoffs. In 91, 18.8, 8.8 assists, and 2.3 steals in the playoffs. Like, it's hard to know because these are like 3, 4 game sweeps because there was uh, back when they only played 3 games in the first round. But I do like some of these playoff numbers where although he goes 2-11 in playoff series in his career, one,
Yeah,
he's got a lot of these at 40 plus minutes, and they're usually pretty high value for those
I
runs.
think that's right. I think that's right. But our next point guard after Strickland, you have the longevity of Strickland, and then you have the short, um, the incredibly short peak of Michael Ray Richardson. 3 steal titles, one assist title, lots of cocaine. Um, has
He's
a
the
really big
first guy
playoffs.
to get banned, right?
Say it again.
He's the first guy to get banned for coke, right?
No, that's the Hawks guy. What's the
That's the
Hawks
Hawks
player's name?
guy.
Hawks small forward. I made a video on him.
Uh,
John Drew.
Either John Drew. Yeah.
Yeah. For Richardson, he averages 20 points a night, 5 boards, 9 assists to upset the defending champion Sixers in the first round. In that final game 5 has a game high 24 points along with 6 boards, 6 assists and 6 steals on 11 of 20 shooting. When he was healthy and he was not on cocaine, which is rarely, he was awesome. I do think he's my next guy off of
I
pure talent alone. Maybe I'm
sure.
overshooting a little bit, but what are you thinking?
I I don't think you're overthinking this at all. I had no separation between those 3 point guards. So it's like either we're gonna have Jack Marin above them or we're gonna have him below all 3 of them. So I'm perfectly comfortable with it. Did you read the per game numbers for that 84 upset, that series?
I did. It was 25 and 8.
Okay. I look at other things sometimes when you're reading numbers, and so I just wanted to make sure that they were
Yeah,
fully recognized this year because
great
they're
numbers.
really
They're good
impressive.
numbers.
Yeah,
Is that his only playoff series win, or is there one more?
that's his only playoff series win.
It's a big
Like,
one. It's a big one.
yeah, the rest of the playoff resume not very good. You've got him
No.
falling apart in 81, shooting 24.2% from the field. Plays 43 minutes, gets you 11 points a night. Still 9.5 boards and 5.5 rebounds, but high value rebounding, high value passing, great defense, can score well. I like it. Let's lock him in at 298. And now we have 2 spots remaining for small forwards, Jack Marin and
And
Andrew Wiggins.
Andrew Wiggins. Andrew Wiggins isn't better than David Lee. You can't ever
Maple
convince me differently.
Jordan. I can
Um,
convince you though that he
you
contributed
can.
more to winning.
I don't even know if that's true. I don't even know if that's the case. I think you're missing his like shitty Minnesota days.
I
Um,
don't care. He was the second best player on the title.
that's not true. That's not true either. He's right. Like
Okay,
Draymond Green is better.
Draymond was not better in
Um,
that title run.
for
Absolutely
our
not.
next, so just to go over, we have 5 guys. We have Terrell Brandon, Fred Brown, Jack Marin, David Lee, and Red Robbins. I mean, David Lee has like 20 point, 12 board, 4 assist seasons, 18, 11, and 3 in Golden State, and they're winning. Like he's a star you can build around. He's like an actual legitimate good player. Um, Wiggins is awful in Minnesota, and he's terrible right now. And I mean, we're saying like we value peak over longevity. How about 6 months of peak versus like first we had
I
Mashburn
mean,
over Wiggins.
we we I mean, just because we changed it a few minutes ago to try to so I could convince you with the Jack Marin narrative. Can we at least agree that
Yeah,
Jack Marin is the best player left?
I
Is there
don't.
anyone that you really want to fight for over Jack Marin?
I'm not sure. I like Fred Brown. The minutes played gets to me for Brown. Like a part of me feels like Lee is just as good, but okay, let's do Marin at 299. Who's our next
Thank
small
you.
four? Who is that? Like who's our next power four?
Either Wiggins or
Oh, small
Mashburn.
four.
Yeah,
God, Wiggins is just disgusting. Let me look at this. Let me look at this.
just
Andrew Wiggins.
read, relax, breathe in, breathe out. Like I understand, and right now what he is doing is so atrocious that we want to penalize him for it. But that's a bad way to do rankings. We put him up here because of what he contributed in that
Yeah,
2022 finals run. And what that was really important. Golden State absolutely does not win it without his play. And you're looking at 18 points, 8.8 boards, decent shooting, not great shooting in the finals, but really key member. And you want to talk about David Lee averaging 20 and whatever or for the Knicks. When he did that for the Knicks and was an all-star, you want to know how many games the Knicks won that year?
not very many.
29 games. So yeah, Wiggins has a lot of empty stats too. You're
Yeah,
comparing empty stats to empty stats,
I
and
think it's a little different I might be able to be
Thanks.
swayed. I'm kind of getting there on the 2022 run, but the thing with Wiggins is he's not putting up stats. Like his stats, it's not good stats, bad team. It's mess stats, bad team. He was like 18 points a game on bad efficiency. He didn't rebound. He didn't get assists. He doesn't get steals. He doesn't play defense.
Sure.
He was like the least impactful player in the NBA. The only reason he's out there is because like the potential of the first overall pick. If he was just a guy, like if he was properly drafted in like the middle of the lottery, then it's like this guy's terrible. They stop playing him. But that they had to unlock Maple Jordan. They had to get it going, and so he's out there all the time. It just never materialized.
All right. I tell you what, I will accept David Lee.
You will?
I will accept David Lee.
Well, how come? How come?
Um, the true shooting being added or taken away,
Yeah,
Lee, even when they're really bad, he's still scoring at an efficient rate, whereas Wiggins, he's
really high
not
field goal
doing that.
percentage.
And then also the 2013 Warriors. Yes, Curry has come into his own. He's starting to play well, but Lee is also an all-star there, and it is kind of the Lee Curry show with Clay providing a supporting act, and um, Bogut or Festus is interesting center rotation there, but like it's the two of them. And yeah, Curry continues to get better. The team gets better or without him, but you at least see Lee provide a high level on a winning team, which I wasn't really
Yeah,
seeing that earlier.
it's possible. And
I
looking like
still say
like
Wiggins.
I could
I
see
still
like
say
at the
Wiggins
high
contributes
end,
more to winning, but
but
yeah,
you know the thing is he's a current player. Every year we revisit this, it's possible like that we make that change.
yeah,
Like looking at the 2010 Knicks though, yeah, it's a 29-win team, but God, this roster's horrible. It's a really bad roster. Um, like their shooting guard minutes are divvied up between Larry Hughes, Tracy McGrady, and Eddie House, and kind of Wilson Chandler. Like that,
yeah.
they are legitimately playing T Mac in 2010. Like it was a bad roster.
T Mac was good in 2009. That's not a good.
No, he was not.
Did McGracy fall off?
Uh, he
Wasn't
couldn't
2009
he
his last Rockets year?
No,
Yeah.
2007 is his last All-Star appearance. 2009, he averages 15 points on less than 40% shooting.
Yeah, in just 35 games. All
You
right, all
can't
right.
move. He
It
couldn't
was his
move
last
anymore.
Rockets
So
year.
no,
Yeah,
you were right in the Rockets tenure, but couldn't move anymore. But all right, I feel bad for bullying you into David Lee.
yeah. Hey,
I
it's
don't feel
okay. I
that.
got
I feel
Richard Jefferson
bad,
in
but
here.
you got Jefferson. That's true. I did not have Jefferson in the top
I
300,
win.
and I
It,
was
it,
convinced.
all right, our top 300. One day we should actually read out the full list, but that might
Would
kill
you like
me.
me to read what we did
Yes,
today?
please.
All right. 276, Jeff Hornacek. Anton Jameson, Doug Collins, Paul Millsap. 280 is Jason Terry. Luol Deng, Tyson Chandler, Stephon Marbury, Victor Oladipo, Wayne Embry, Reggie Lewis, Dan Marley, Mike Bibby, Ron Harper. 290 is Otis Thorpe. Then Byron Scott, Richard Jefferson, DeAndre Jordan, Bill Bridges, Sidney Wicks, Calvin Murphy, Rod Strickland, Michael Ray Richardson, Jack Merritt, and number 300 is David Lee. We did it, Nate. I'm so proud of us.
300 down. And for the people counting at home, since we broke this down by position, listen, it's a little bit fluky. Some guys play multiple positions. We had to lock them in at one point or another. But our top 300 includes 67 point guards, 58 centers. Our top 100 includes, our top 300 includes 67 point guards, 60 shooting guards, 55 small forwards, 62 power forwards, and 58 centers.
It's so interesting about the centers
They
because
started
the
off so
centers
strong.
they dominate the top 100, but like, because there's this massive fall off. I don't have. Do I have this in front of me? I don't have this in front of me, but it's the it's the Jermaine O'Neal at 201 to like Demonis Sabonis at 202. where it's like, oh geez, like this is like it goes like 6-time All-Star to Vlade Divac, and it's like, man, what happened?
Yeah. We had 26 centers in our top 100, and then our top 200, let's see. There were 46 picks in the top 200, so just 20 made it in that round. And then just 12 in the 201 to 300 range. And like there's some guys right on the bubble, a little in between in some of these eras. But I think with centers is it doesn't rely a lot on athleticism. So you can be a really good center for a long time. And so you do have some of those centers that just dominate for such a long expanse. Whereas, like when we're talking shooting guards, we're like, yeah, that year and a half of Oladipo was really good. Yeah, those 4 years of Doug
Yeah,
Collins. But you have guys that like peak high and then fall off, where centers, the guys with the high peaks, really dominated the league for a time, and their kind of other guys are just not as high. So, Aaron, where can people find
perfectly said. You can find me, Possible Chairs, on TikTok, Possible Chairs on X or Twitter. It's one word, Possible Chairs. In this podcast all the time.
You can find me, Nate_Hoops Temple on TikTok. Email us all at hoopstemple@gmail.com. And one day I'll figure out what my Twitter handle is and maybe plug that and tweet. So have a good one.